Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 25th President of John Carroll University, Dr. Michael D. Johnson.
Thank you, Chairman Merriman, for the kind introduction. Thank you all for coming to University Heights and John Carroll University for this special day for my family and our community. My wife, Jill, and I are deeply grateful for the warm welcome we have received from so many faculty, staff, students, and alumni. I would like to thank Father Paulson and the Society of Jesus for entrusting me with the Jesuit heritage and mission of John Carroll as its 25th president. Under the strategic plan, which you've heard about, Promise and Prominence, the university has these 4 learning goals: intellect, leadership, service, and character. Each year, we pay particular attention to one of those goals, and this year's focus is on leadership. It's a theme that has been embedded in the Society of Jesus and our Jesuit universities for hundreds of years. Yet its significance is often lost on society today. While there are many different types of leaders and leadership theories, our values and mission challenge us to lead in a very particular and effective way. Jesuits referred to it as our way of proceeding. I call it inspired leadership. Inspired leadership is a generative process of leading not by the exercise of power, position, or authority, but rather by supporting those around us, leading by example, encouraging excellence, and inspiring others to do the same. Inspired leadership is the antithesis of its my way or the highway. It is what many today would call the development of a high-performance team. A team committed to a common goal, a tight-knit group that collaborates and innovates, just as St. Ignatius did with the Society of Jesus so many years ago. Building on the work of so many, our Vice President for Mission, Ed Peck, and I developed a concise statement to capture what we meant by inspired leadership. And it reads, quote, "At John Carroll University, we draw inspiration from St. Ignatius Loyola and his spiritual exercises to form leaders who are characterized by self-awareness and reflection, effective decision-making, inclusiveness, a commitment to the greater good, and a deep care and respect for others," unquote. So why do we find this statement so compelling? To start, it captures many of our core Jesuit values, our sense of purpose, which distinguish us in an increasingly competitive marketplace for higher education. It captures the concept of the magis and our attempts to strive for excellence in all we do. It captures our pursuit of justice with mercy, based on a fundamental concern for those who are poor and marginalized. And it captures the concept of cura personalis, our respect and care for the whole person. In addition to capturing our values in a concise way, our statement makes clear that these values apply not just to Jesuits or Catholics, but to every one of us. The formation of leaders is a common purpose that applies, for example, to Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, and people with non-religious worldviews and identities. Leadership inspired by St. Ignatius is leadership that humanizes and empowers all of us to join in the work of making the world a better place for everyone. It is inherently inclusive. While our individual charity and good works are critically important, our commitment to social justice seeks to address the causes of why so many people in the world today need our help. We heard a quote today from the late Father Daniel Berrigan. It poses 2 questions. How are we to live as human beings, and how will our communities form and proliferate as instruments of change? As a lifelong academic, I have watched with great concern as the gap between rich and poor in our country and in our world has grown larger and larger. While the U.S. economy has created unprecedented wealth over the past 5 decades, many Americans have not shared in that growth. The gaps between upper income and lower income families are the highest ever recorded, and that disparity has fallen disproportionately on minority households. Research has shown that the median wealth of white households is 10 times the median wealth of black households and 8 times that of Hispanic households. As we implement our strategic plan and begin to envision what comes after, we must double down on our efforts to understand and work against such economic disparity and enhance our commitment to accessibility. At the same time, we must continue to develop our commitment to diversity, inclusion, and social justice on our campuses and in our communities. My own life journey and discovery of the core characteristics of leadership has been inspired by the leadership of others. I was very happy leading the life of a full professor at the University of Michigan when the opportunity came to become a dean. I reflected at the time on where my journey had taken me and where I had yet to go. For the first time, I really began to view my life in stages. And first comes the investment stage. In the investment stage, early in our lives, we're really focused on ourselves, investing in our schooling and in our skill sets, for later in life. Then comes the need to grow. The second stage is the growth stage. As an academic, for example, the awarding of tenure allowed me to start working in fields other than marketing and consumer behavior, including quality management and business strategy, and to teach to very different audiences. But I had yet to actually lead an organization and allow others to learn and grow as I had been able to do. So as part of the third stage of my life and career, I became a dean to do just that, to lead by serving others and allowing them to reach their own potential and work together for the greater good. Soon after this discernment, I visited a friend and fellow dean, Deepak Jain, at Northwestern University. Deepak asked me why I decided to become a dean, and I described the reflection that I went through and my movement from the investment to the growth to the leadership stages. That's when Deepak reminded me that there's a fourth stage, giving back. The giving back stage is where we focus foremost on serving those around us. But then Deepak added a twist of wisdom that has stuck with me ever since. He said, Michael, the key to life is thinking forward and working backward. That is, he was saying, don't wait for the growth stage to grow. Don't wait for the leadership stage to lead. And certainly don't wait for the giving back stage to serve. So, why has a Jesuit Catholic education worked so well for almost 500 years? I would argue that it works because it calls us to do what Deepak told me and what St. Ignatius did, to think forward and work backward. There are some special people here today, and some who could not be with us, who have inspired my own life and leadership. Jill, my wife and partner in life, has made sure that our boys and I live our lives as better people, that we love and respect all people, as she likes to say. Lola Lopez, retired from the University of Iowa, was my favorite undergraduate professor at the University of Wisconsin, and with whom I published my first paper, and she set me on my academic path. Rick Bogozzi, who's with us today, my colleague for so many years at Michigan, who inspired me as the embodiment of a gentleman and a scholar, and always gave his time to younger colleagues, such as myself. Jim Taylor, who's with us today, another Michigan colleague with whom I traveled the world as a teacher, and who always put our institution first. Steve Carvel, my colleague for so many years in school at Cornell, he was my senior associate dean. He really taught me to put our institution first by putting our students first. Ian Lapp, who is a member of my leadership team at Babson College, who always put our students first. and my mentor for so many years, Jay Russo, who is also with us here today, who early in my career as my dissertation advisor taught me the importance of magis, that there's no trade-off for quality in what we do, and who re-entered my life as a trusted advisor and friend. But the most inspiring leader in my life was my father, Dr. Robert O. Johnson, who passed away when I was finishing my graduate studies some 36 years ago. My brothers Mark and Rob are here today, and it's hard to believe that we've lived most of our life without our father. My father was a general practitioner in a small farm town in which I was born, where he cared for people who were mostly poor. He was sometimes paid in eggs or chickens or not paid at all. He became a distinguished surgical oncologist and spent most of his career working tirelessly for those in the most pain, facing the worst odds. Imagine being a surgical oncologist in the 1960s and 70s. And he was incredibly committed to it. He performed surgeries whether or not someone had insurance or could pay. Throughout his career, he had the foresight to think forward, work backward, and focus on serving others. With his example in mind, my journey has brought me to John Carroll University. Here, my success as a leader and our success as a community will be measured foremost by our ability to be self-aware and reflective, to make decisions that are in the best interest of our students and institution, create a more inclusive environment, to care for and respect others, and to live a life of service. Let me end with a short prayer from St. Ignatius that embodies these values. It's called Take, Lord, Receive. And those of you who know this prayer, I invite you to pray along with me. Take, Lord, and receive all my liberty, my memory, my understanding, and my entire will, all that I have and possess. Thou hast given all to me. To thee, O Lord, I return it. All is thine. Dispose of it wholly, according to thy will. Give me thy love and thy grace, for this is sufficient for me. Thank you all for coming today. Enjoy this, what turned out to be a beautiful day, and God bless you.